Hey Pokemon Masters, Berkey Toby here and welcome to 2021. Oh, it's a year filled with hope and optimism and joy for the world. I'm excited and I hope you are as well. And hey, Pokemon is gonna be no exception. It's the 25th anniversary this year and yeah, I'm feeling hopeful, I'm feeling excited. What a good time to be a Pokemon fan. What's this? Sorry, a rage thread on Reddit. Why is everything written in all caps? Why hasn't Pokemon Black and White been ported to the Switch yet? I just want to play a game with an actual story and then take the Pokemon I bonded with me into future games. I really hate the Pokemon Sword and Shield games. Never has a Pokemon game made me lose interest so quickly. Angry face. What's wrong with Candle Pokemon? Litwick's good. Litwick is good. Look at this little marshmallow boy. Okay, seems there are still some voices that need to be heard in the Pokemon community, and that's what I'm gonna do in this video. Take a little look at a survey that some of you have done, and see how you're feeling about the world of Pokemon in 2021. Let's do this. So you may remember a video I did back in 2019. Most of you will probably remember 2019 as the Pokemon year with the most controversy. Certainly in recent memory. After Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon and Let's Go Pikachu and Eevee, for all of the die-hard fans, Pokemon needed a win. And it was looking good with the first trailers to Sword and Shield, showing this big expansive world set in a UK region. I was very happy about that. What is a Grookey? I need to catch one of those, I'm thinking. And what is this wild area? I've got to explore it. I was excited, and I'm looking at it going, I think I'm going to prefer this to Let's Go, I think I'm going to prefer it to Usum, I think I'm going to prefer it to Sun and Moon, I think I'm going to prefer it to X and Y. So this is good, all stuff in the right direction. Welcome to a brand new world. What a trailer. Then the dark times began, when Junichi Masuda came out on stage and said that no, not every Pokemon would be in the game on launch, and a big part of this is because they wanted to focus on the game and the game quality, animations, graphics. And with every new word out of his mouth, the fires were stoked, the anger arose, and people online everywhere got mad. You had people who were mad about the National Dex cut, you had people who were mad, more fairly in my opinion, about the animation stuff, and you had people who were mad at both. And then you had people like me. I'm just an optimist in general. I enjoy Pokemon games for what they are. And while of course I always want the best Pokemon experience, for me this was looking to be the best Pokemon game since the 2D era. I know the expectation should maybe be a bit higher, but I was like very excited for the Gala games. And hey, you've probably had this, whether it's Game of Thrones or Doctor Who for you, or maybe it's Star Wars. You've probably had this thing where you're a fan of something, right? And you just want to talk about how much you love it. And yeah, maybe the series in places. Maybe it's in more recent years, maybe there's a dry patch in the middle before the later seasons got really good or something, where you can sort of go, okay, it wasn't as good there, but that doesn't take away from all the other experiences that I've enjoyed. Whatever the thing is, and you love this thing and you're a part of a fandom and you're putting it out there. And in 2019, it felt like if you were putting it out there into the world, that you were somehow committing a crime and that you absolutely shouldn't be praising Pokemon because you're part of the problem. How dare you enjoy the thing that I am mad at? You've probably been on the receiving end of that at some point, and possibly even on the giving end of it at some point for a franchise that you're not a fan of. So, as you might remember, I put out a survey. 3,000 of you answered into it, 3,000 members of the Pokemon community. And yes, there's a lot of bias here. There are 3,000 members specifically from my neck of the woods, my little portion of the community, where, you know, chances are we're maybe kind of like-minded if you're watching this video, because if you're watching my videos regularly, maybe you have the same kind of attitudes that I do about Pokemon. You know, people who kind of want to dunk on something and criticize it probably watch other YouTubers whose main focus is to criticize and dunk on it. So yeah, there's bias in the survey, the sample size isn't huge. I did encourage other YouTubers as well to tweet it out so that I could get a slightly wider range of opinions, and I looked at the results in 2019 before Sword and Shield came out, and I thought it'd be really interesting to put some of those questions at the end of a survey I put out at the end of this year, which so far has only had 1,000 replies, so again, we're working with a third of that small amount of data, but I thought it'd be interesting to see how much has changed and compare the questions against each other. Where's the Pokemon community at the beginning of this year? So I started off just by asking something that I didn't ask last year, which is, what game do you think is coming out next year? To which 76% of people said Diamond and Pearl remakes. That's not actually that surprising to me that 3/4 of people, especially those watching my channel, think Diamond and Pearl remakes are the thing coming this year. Yeah, that makes sense. I've made arguments for it. I'm sure I'm not the only person making arguments for it, and most people will have come to that conclusion without my videos anyway. But what did surprise me is how few people actually think Let's Go Johto is going to be a thing. Just 4% of people think Let's Go Johto is happening. It's about the same amount that think nothing is happening this year. I was genuinely expecting that slice for Let's Go Johto to just be a little bit bigger, but apparently it's not that common a feeling. Or certainly, people don't think it's more likely than Diamond and Pearl remakes. Now, I was interested when asking the same questions, given that 1,000 people did this survey, and 2 years ago, 3,000 people did it, how similar some of the answers would be and how they would have changed. I asked people then and now about their favorite remake games and their least favorite remake games, with the options being Leaf Green Fire Red, Heart Gold Soul Silver, Omega Ruby Alpha Sapphire, and Let's Go Pikachu and Eevee, and they're basically identical to what they were 2 years ago. The mood just doesn't seem to have shifted. About 50% of people, or just over, will tell you that Heart Gold Soul Silver, that's the best remake game. And about 50% of people will say, Let's Go, that's the worst remake game. I will be interested to see how they change if Diamond and Pearl remakes do in fact happen. I also asked people what their favorite and least favorite main series game is, so not including the remakes, just using the first iteration, so Black and White, not Black and White 2, Sun and Moon, not Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon, and just comparing the original releases of each generation together. Obviously, at the time in 2019, Sword and Shield couldn't be on this graph because it wasn't out. But one of the big things that I remember surprising me in 2019 is that people do not have Generation 1 rose-tinted glasses love within this community, at least. Gen 1 is fine, but the actual games, Red, Blue, and Yellow, are by far people's least favorite games. Maybe not within this part of the community, at least. People don't look at Red and Blue with kind of rose-tinted glasses. They actually see them as some of their least favorite games. This year, Red and Blue is 20% of people say, yeah, that's the worst Pokemon game. And that's fair enough. I like Pokemon Yellow because of nostalgia of being a kid, and I love the sprite art. But realistically, I agree, Pokemon Red and Blue probably are some of the worst Pokemon games, and that's just because they haven't had all of the refinements that later iterations of the series have brought to the table. That said, are they the worst? It actually is a maybe. That said, Gold, Silver, Ruby, Sapphire, Diamond and Pearl, and Black and White do take up about 67% of this chart. Yeah, people love that era of Pokemon, with especially Diamond and Pearl and Black and White being the biggest margins there, and I think that makes sense to me. Pokemon really felt like a progression in this kind of sprite art style, where it just built upon itself, built upon itself, built upon itself, built upon itself, and by the time we get to XY, it's either so modern that people hate it, I don't personally like it, or it just has other issues, or perhaps the shift to 3D was like 1 step forward, 2 step backs in many ways. I think that's how a lot of people feel. X and Y currently being people's least favorite games in the franchise. It is interesting to note though, there is something here that since 2019, it's shifted a little bit in that X and Y is now being seen as less popular than it was before, with Sun and Moon and Ultra Sun and Moon being like a little less hated. 2 years ago, they both seemed to be a lot of people's least favorite games, but it seems that the hatred for X and Y has stuck around and even grown a little bit, while the hatred for Sun and Moon and Usum has calmed down a bit. Interestingly, in 2019, Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon was only a year old, so I wonder if its newness had something to do with the amount of hate it was getting. Speaking of which, Sword and Shield, it is about 8% of people's favorite Pokemon game ever, and it is about 8% of people's least favorite Pokemon game ever, kind of telling me that there is a wide array of opinions in between, and that maybe next time I do this survey, I should account for like second and third favorite Pokemon game and see where Sword and Shield lines up. Now, speaking of Sword and Shield, back in 2019, I also asked people how good they thought the games would be and how much that they would enjoy it. And it did skew heavily positive. And this was the thing that surprised me. This was the takeaway that, hey, if you love something and people are raging about it online, don't worry about it. You're not in the minority. It's just a loud vocal minority, and you should like what you want to like, because lots of people like it too, and it brings us all together. Cool, yeah, great, but how do people actually feel now the thing's out? And this is the interesting thing. Back in 2019, as you can see, most people settled on the 7, 8, 9 for how good they felt the game would actually be. No one had expectations that this was going to be a perfect game, or very few people did. But generalizing, people felt that they would enjoy it to a much higher degree. So despite the fact I don't think the game will be perfect, I think I'll enjoy it anyway, felt to be the general sentiment. That pretty much lines up with how I felt as well. But how do people actually feel now the games and the DLC are out and done? Well, most people are on that 7, 8, 9. They thought the game would be about a 7, 8, 9, and yeah, they feel that it's a 7, 8, 9. This, if it wasn't obvious, 10's a perfect game and like 1 is terrible. That is just a very surface look at the numbers though, and I do think there is something else hidden here. For example, if we look at out of 10, how good do you think the game will be? That is a very general look at the numbers, and I'm finding it hard. I mean, again, it's very limited data. I am not a data person. What's that, a statologist? No, I'm just making that word up, I think. I'm not a data person. I'm not a numbers person. I'm taking a very, very general look at these things, right? But when I look at how much do you think you'll enjoy Pokemon Sword and Shield from 2019, so how much did you enjoy it now that the DLCs are out from this year, I do think that there's a noticeable difference about the people who thought they would enjoy it 10 out of 10 amazing to how they felt after it was out. There's like a 6% difference there, and where has that 6% gone? Well, it's trickled into the other numbers and even some of the lower numbers, which means a lot of people did go in with high expectations going, you know what, I'll enjoy it anyway, it'll be fantastic, and came out feeling, yeah, that was great, that was good, but it's not perfect and it's not near perfect. It's still got room for improvement. It's still positive, just with the information I have, I think it indicates that people, again, assuming they're feeling the same way as me a little bit here, are maybe feeling like, there's room, there's definitely room for growth, things that could be improved upon. So where did that come from? Did that come from the national decks? Well, in 2019, I asked people, out of 10, how much do you think this thing will bother you? With 1 being like, nah, it's no biggie, whatever, I'll play the games and enjoy them anyway, and 10 being like, I won't play the games because all the Pokemon are not in them. I asked them that question then, and then I asked them how it impacted them now. And once again, our 2 graphs, they do look pretty similar, look like they're matching at first, but actually, when we look at those higher numbers, the 10 out of 10, this'll ruin the experience, I can't play these games if all Pokemon are not in them. When we look at people who polled into the extremes, 8, 9, 10 out of 10, this'll be awful, those numbers have actually been cut pretty much in half, and those numbers have moved into the other areas of the game where people are going, it's not really that big a deal, maybe it annoys me a little bit, but whatever, I'll play the game regardless, or I'm having a great time anyway. And I think that's fair. I think it's very reflective of people, and I'm not exempt from it at all. I have biases when I watch trailers or when I hear announcements for things coming up, which make me go, oh no, really? To where, I'm not gonna give that thing the time of day, and I'm gonna criticize everyone who you try not to be that guy. Try not to be that person, right? Because you're just ruining the fun for other people, although I'm sure most of you don't do that. But I think a lot of it is that, and I think a lot of it as well, and maybe a question that I should have spent a little bit more time investigating into and asking people is how they felt about the graphical side of Pokemon Sword and Shield. Because the national decks, while it was called the national decks, bring back the national decks, that really did feel like a vocal minority, and I do think there are some very genuine and real criticisms to be heard in the worlds of animation, graphical power, what a main series home console Switch game, Pokemon game should be. I think there's been a lot of discussions about that are very valid. I hope Game Freak has been listening to them, and I actually hope and think that they probably have been. This being because obviously my mum works for Game Freak. We established that, right? Yeah, but I do think there are many criticisms out there that are very, very fair. Pokemon Sword and Shield kind of came out at a weird time. After that, 1 step forward, 2 steps back that I think a lot of people felt about X and Y into Sun and Moon, Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon, which were essentially the same game. Maybe they should be doing DLCs, into Let's Go, that's for beginners, into Sword and Shield. Is this not the hardcore Pokemon game we want? Having Sword and Shield, you got a lot of hope riding on that one game. Meanwhile, yeah, Mario's putting out Mario Odyssey, a game that people argue is perfect. Zelda is putting out Breath of the Wild, a game people argue is perfect. But at the end of the day, this game is undeniably perfect. This game is undeniably perfect. This game is good. I feel positive about it. It's the best 3D Pokemon game in the last, since X and Y. Definitely got room for growth, and definitely lessons it can learn from even older games in the franchise, like, for example, Battle Revolution. I know that discussion came up a lot. All of this is to say that Sword and Shield were not bad games. The DLCs were not bad DLCs. The games are simply steps in the right direction with room for improvement. I think Game Freak are listening. I think they know where they stand in relation to their siblings Zelda and Mario. I don't necessarily think that the Diamond and Pearl remakes, if that's what's coming this year, will be the huge leap forward that people are hoping for, but certainly the next generation, which I'd expect the year after that, will be. And I do think that this year is the 25th anniversary of Pokemon. And there's going to be lots of reasons to celebrate. There's going to be lots of things to take part in. There's going to be new games, I'm almost certain. Again, only 4% of people think no, there won't be. So there's going to be new Pokemon games, most likely. And if you're still on board, you're still playing Pokemon, whether that's Sword and Shield, or Diamond and Pearl, or Ruby and Sapphire, whatever the thing is that you're playing. If you're having fun in the world of Pokemon, I hope you'll join me this year through my channel, through 2021. I'm personally feeling very good and very optimistic about this year, and I hope you are too. But I do want to hear your thoughts in the comments below, and again, if you'd like to take part in the survey, maybe give me a different perspective, feel free to do so. The form is linked at the top of the description. Thank you all for watching, and with that said, so hi Pokemon Masters.
This is Ash Ketchum. You just watched a video by Birdkeeper Toby. That makes you a Pokemon Master!
And an extra special thank you to those of you who have been supporting this channel financially, whether on Twitch, through buying merch, or through, of course, Patreon. And a big shout out to the big patron of this month, Inkthinks. Thanks, mate. Why hasn't Pokemon Black and White been ported to the Switch yet? I just want to be able to play a Pokemon game with a real story and then take the Pokemon I bonded with